live from L.A. I'm Jenny Tapia with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jenny.
So, somebody's gone permanently with no tie.
Hey, well,
If you can't beat them, you join them.
You know.
Right?
what I doing?
You've been playing for a tie for 4 years on this show, and you've never achieved a single tie. So now you go with no tie.
I know, because you're going to bring this up. So now I'm going back to the tie.
Are you
I'm going
really?
back to the tie.
I just shamed you back into a tie?
You shamed me back into
And you realize that adds like 7 more minutes to your time to get ready for the show because you got a tie. And it's
a lot of prep.
like a hassle.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's why you don't wear a tie. It's a hassle.
I get 7 extra prep minutes, and they're crucial to win these.
Well, Steve and I, we be prepping at night. We get 2 hours of call time at night.
This show.
Well, somebody spends like 5 hours a night getting ready for the show.
We are only a minute in. We're already arguing about the tie. We have an awesome show for you today. Is Tom Brady really the 3rd best free agent this offseason? Plus, how much does Kawhi winning the All-Star Game MVP heat up the rivalry with LeBron and the Lakers? We got a lot there. But first, we do need to talk about the latest with Myles Garrett. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin came to Mason Rudolph's defense yesterday after Garrett doubled down on his claim that Rudolph used a racial slur, which ignited their on-field brawl last season. And former Browns GM John Dorsey told the Akron Beacon Journal that the Browns defensive lineman told him about the alleged racial slur right after the incident occurred. So, Shannon, do the latest developments change your view of the accusation?
No, because all it's done, Skip, is reopen the wound that we can't prove.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Myles Garrett can offer definitive proof that this was said, I just don't understand what's his rationale for doing this. I can assure you this is not what the NFL had hoped when they reinstated Myles Garrett.
Nope.
Skip, and he was asked, why didn't you bring it up right after the game? He said, I didn't because I would be reaching for justification at the time. What the hell are you doing now? It doesn't seem like you're apologizing. It doesn't seem like you. Basically, what you're saying, the reason why I did what I did is because I heard what I heard, which is justification for doing what you did. So, in other words, you didn't want to do that. This is why you didn't mention it after the game, because you didn't want to seem like you had justifications for doing what you did. You want, like, I apologize. It's a bad look for the organization. It's a bad look for myself, and I apologize. You felt that if you told him what he had said, that would have been all for justifications for why you did it. So what do you think you're doing now by bringing this up? Skip, it's kind of, it's kind of like I've seen at least 100 documentaries on the death of Jimmy Hoffa, and we still don't know who did it and where he's buried. And here it is again. So what are we going to do? We're going to just keep going through this thing over and over again when we don't have proof? Mason Rudolph says, I didn't say that. It's 1,000% false. You're a bold-faced lie. Myles Garrett said you did say it, and you said the stupid end on top of it. Skip, how do we prove it? It doesn't make it, for me, Skip, it doesn't make any sense. And I get John Dorsey saying, well, he told me this. John Dorsey, did you relay this information to the NFL? Did any of the coaches that Myles Garrett allegedly said this to, did they relay this information? Okay, NFL, if you had this information, the NFL says, look, we've checked the audio, we can't find it. I just don't know, Skip, where do we go from here? Is this going to be a continuation? But I just know, it's hard for me to believe. I could be totally wrong, but probably not. It's hard for me to believe that Myles Garrett sat down in front of the commissioner, as I'm sitting in front of you, Skip, and says, he said it. That's why I did what I did. It's hard for me to believe that he said that. I believe that Myles Garrett said he was sorry. I believe that he showed genuine contrition in front of the commissioner, only to have a day after he gets reinstated or the day he got reinstated, do an interview on OTL. That makes no sense, Skip. I just, look, it doesn't change it for me. I just wish Myles would have left this alone. He peeled a scab off a wound that was healing. I thought it was healing, but hey, I guess he wants to have justification for doing what he did, and that's why he's rehashing this.
Okay, quick point of order about Jimmy Hoffa's death. According to Martin Scorsese's latest film, The Irishman, we now know who killed Jimmy Hoffa, but that's according to Martin Scorsese, and I don't know whether I should believe 1 ounce of that.
Exactly.
Which leads me back to this story. 24 hours after we discussed it yesterday, I'm more conflicted, I'm more torn than I was 24 hours ago, given the latest developments. And in all my years trying to ascertain situations like this, trying to get to the bottom of it, this one's getting murkier and murkier. And it's hard for me to completely dismiss Myles Garrett's contention, his accusation, even though I'm leaning with you because your compass here is always pointing in the correct direction, and yours has pointed no pretty much from the start. But here's the point. If Myles Garrett mishandled how he reacted immediately after the alleged N-word was uttered, just because he mishandled it in ways Shannon Sharpe would have never mishandled it, if he handled it completely differently than Shannon Sharpe would have handled it, does that mean the N-word was not uttered? No.
No.
No. So I'm more torn because the John Dorsey development of yesterday threw me the biggest curveball because John Dorsey texted with the Akron Beacon Journal that, yes, you're correct. Yes, it's the truth that Garrett did inform him right after the game of the racial slur accusation. Okay, why didn't John Dorsey make that clear in the moments after the game? Why didn't he address the media and say, we have a situation here?
Right. Or when Mike Tomlin, Skip, remember Mike Tomlin says, when I immediately came off the field, nobody said anything. Only to the coach.
To your point, that was a powerful statement from Mike Tomlin on ESPN because he's saying, I have a lot of friends in that organization. I know a lot of those players personally. And you know, Shannon Sharpe, and I know that if that word had been uttered, and that was the flashpoint that ignited the helmet throwing or swinging.
Sure.
You know and I know somebody would have gone right up to Mike Tomlin as he left the field and said, Coach,
we got a situation
we
here.
got a situation here. Did not happen. Okay, should we completely condemn Myles Garrett for this when we've talked about this before? He's different. He's not cut out of the typical NFL warrior mode, right, or mold. I'm going back to something I've read before. It was from a 2017 ESPN The Magazine piece on Myles Garrett just before he was drafted, first overall. Okay. And the writer says that in the span of a few minutes hanging out with Myles Garrett, he navigated the conversation from the genius of Journey, the rock band, which you wouldn't think he would love Journey, but you never know, okay? I don't know. Do you love Journey?
I don't love Journey, but I know who they are.
Okay, all right, fine. But he's talking about Journey to the true nature.
I'm more of a foreigner guy, but that's neither here nor there.
Foreigner's very good.
But I just made that up.
Okay. to the true nature, he's talking now to the writer, to the true nature of astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson's power to the words of Maya Angelou and how they can infuse every cell of your body with light and love. This is the interview that he's having. Okay, so he's showing range that you don't always get from NFL players. You have a lot of range to you, but I don't know if you would have displayed that in an interview.
No. Skip, let me explain something how we operate in our community when we get into an argument. If somebody calls us something out of context, we go to blows. Call me the B word again. Call me the N word again. We're going to say that. Oh, you want to call me that? I bet you I ain't your B-Niammer.
Okay.
Myles Garrett did none of that. He reacted.
Okay, but time out. I'm trying to explain to you. I'm not sure he's the typical member of your community.
But that's the
right?
thing. But Skip, he reacted. He said, now, I'm listening to his interview. He says he doesn't use that word and something set him off when he heard the word being uttered to him. So if it set him off and caused him to go into that kind of rage, all of a sudden, I'm cool with it.
So who did he say that he told immediately in the locker room? Larry Ogunjobi, his teammate, who was a draft mate of his, because they were drafted in the 2017 draft.
Who also missed the game because he shoved Mason Rudolph.
He shoved Mason Rudolph. Okay, where did Larry Ogunjobi come from? He played football at Charlotte for the 49ers of Charlotte. I wasn't even sure they had a football team until I saw this before the show. But he majored, did Larry Ogunjobi, in computer science and biology. So a little different. And maybe as birds of a feather, the kindred spirits, they connected. And it sounds to me from all I've read like Myles Garrett wasn't really close to anybody on the whole football team except Larry Ogunjobi.
Correct.
Okay, so what shocked you after the game was nobody had Myles Garrett's back.
Correct.
I'm talking about the leaders of the team, Jarvis and Odell and Baker Mayfield. Right. They did not have his back. And in the weeks and months after the incident, nobody has publicly had his back.
Right.
Except kind of Larry Ogunjobi, but nobody really knew who he was.
Correct.
He wasn't a prominent member of the Browns, nor was he seen as a team leader.
Mm-hmm.
So we dismissed his reaction after the game, which was he was backing that there was a racial slur uttered.
Right. Well, I think it had more to do with it. He saw his teammate getting double teamed or triple teamed.
Okay.
So he's like, oh, no, this is not about to go down like this.
Okay. But back to John Dorsey, who's no longer the GM of the Browns. So you wonder where what his motivation is here to say what he said. But he's texting with the Akron Beacon Journal. Yes, it's correct that he did say, he told me that there was a racial slur uttered. And yet the statement that he issued to the media after the game was, this is from John Dorsey, that Garrett was, quote, open and honest with us about the incident from the start. Well, what does that mean? It means nothing.
Nothing.
Open and honest how? Give me a specific. Be explicit.
Right.
Well, he wasn't explicit, so now there's some 20/20 hindsight. Oh, yes, he told me that.
Right.
Well, we're way after the fact, and he's doubled down on his accusation, and all of a sudden, John Dorsey is singling down for the first time. He's saying, yeah, that's what he told me. Well, you didn't tell us that then.
Exactly.
That would have changed life. That would have changed
I believe it would have also, Skip, if they had come out immediately after. Now, I get, Myles Garrett, like right after Skip, it's hard for me, like in that moment, like when the media come in, I'm going to explain to them because they've never seen me behave like this before. Shannon, what set you off? Man, you know what he said? I'm going to tell you what he said. Okay.